Let's try 3. Okay? We know 3 times 3 is 9. Times 3 is 27. Times 3 again is 81. Again, we've gone too far. We've used four threes and are already bigger than 64. So the 3's aren't going to work. So let's go down to 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Times 2 is 8. Times 2 is 16. Times 2 is 32. Times 2 is 64. So we've got to 64 when we have used 6 2's. So the answer to the question, what is the 6th root of 64? It is 2. Now, the answers to questions 1 and 2. In question 1, we found out that the 4th root of 81 was 3. In question 2, we found that the 6th root of 64 is 2. Now, one thing we have to keep in mind is that, remember, two negatives multiplied by each other equal a positive. We just dealt with positive numbers in our first 2 examples. So once you get an answer that works, you also need to check to see if negative numbers would work. So in our first problem, we have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. We need to check to see if negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 also equals 81. So negative 3 times negative 3 is 9, times negative 3 is negative 27, times negative 3 is 81. So in this case, positive 3 and negative 3 are both the 4th roots of 81. We look at question 2. Does negative 2 also work? Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. Negative 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Times negative 2 is positive 16. Times negative 2 is negative 32. Times negative 2 is 64. So, not only is positive 2 the 6th root of 64, negative 2 is also the 6th root of 64. So you have to keep that in mind. Concept in questions 1 and 2. Whenever you have a positive number and you're trying to find the nth root, and that nth root is even, you're always going to have 2 roots as an answer. You're always going to have a positive and a negative root. I will say that one more time. Anytime you have a positive number, in this case 81 and 64, and you are finding an even root, in this case 4 and 6, you are going to have both a positive and a negative root. Now let's look at 3 and 4. Here we also have positive numbers for A, but the roots we're trying to find are odd. So let's take a look at these. I have 240